founder of the Buxton Friendship Museum. At the end of this session, and I do hope that our featured speaker for this evening comes, I'd like you to meet with Mr. Pete Easton, who will speak to you about the tour to the Buxton Friendship. He would like to have you record your name and give you all the details. I wish to acknowledge the presence of Mr. Dion Abrams, who will be chairing the first panel tomorrow. As you know from your readings and your research, the August marks the 200th anniversary of the Demerara slave rebellion. And in our midst are several persons who are quite au fait with the Demerara slave rebellion. I would also like to acknowledge Dr. Ligeti, who continues to support the Institute by taking tours. And this year, we were delighted that Diana, Cassandra, Richard, and Isa were taken on the tour of the Panaf Gardens. The Panaf movement is an extremely active movement, and this year, for the very first time, we do not have Professor with us, Professor Lung with us, because she has passed on. And the person who had inspired the establishment of the Institute of Historical Research, and she inspired it on the basis of the Institute of Commonwealth Studies. She also is no longer with us, but we are grooming the younger researchers, historians, authors, to fill the gap as we move to the front bench. This evening, some persons do respect time, and so we have the person who is supposed to introduce the featured speaker. I do hope he has not got into an accident, nor has fallen ill, and that is Mrs. Marjorie McCaskey. Mrs. Marjorie McCaskey, could you please stand and let them see you? And we also have in our midst the person who was going to introduce the chair for this evening, and that is Ms. Charlene Wilkinson. Charlene, can you stand so we can see you? I am pretty sure that having seen these ladies, and because of our respect for each and every one of you who is here this evening, that somewhere in our midst, before Mr. Ivor Thom performs, that we will be able to have someone who will make a comment on the 1823 Demerara slave rebellion. You know, the thing about the Institute of Historical Research is that it's all voluntary and self-financing. But I am sure, since we never had this happen to us before, that I'm sure that there must be a reason why those persons are not here. This evening is very special. It is the sale of 2 books which Mr. Lal Balkaran had written. And as someone said to me, you should consider it the launching of his book. I wish to acknowledge Mr. Walter George for the work that he's doing, and he is a senior member of the Panaf movement. And so I hope that we shall be able to forward a video of what took place this evening. The books are on sale, and thanks to Ms. Jen Madu, we also have in our midst representatives from the theatre group. And so, without further ado, I shall now invite Mr. Thom to perform his poem for us. As you know, Mr. Thom is a very talented man and a very, how must I put it? He is a very proud father. He is the father of 3 girls who have their PhDs. The 4th one does not have her PhD as yet, but I am pretty sure that if she follows in her dad's footsteps, she might go towards language and literature. I wish to invite him to perform. After, I will then invite Mr. Easton to say something about the Boston Friendship Museum, as well as give you information on cost and that kind of detail. Hopefully, by then, the featured speaker will have arrived, the chair will have arrived. Now, if they haven't arrived, I will then ask the head of the conference secretariat, Ms. Cindy Harris, to move the vote of thanks. And so now I wish to invite Mr. Ivor Thom. Please give him a
Good evening to everyone. I was asked to do a poem that I did, wrote a long time ago, some 15 years or so. There was a trend of agenda of what influenced the writing this poem. It started one day I was in Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, and I was listening to a song. The guy said I was listening to Antibes. I'm not sure if that was a song, but I know I was listening. And somebody said, GT Man. I didn't respond. And but the GT Man, I still didn't respond. He said, Tom, you don't talk to country man? And then I turned around and said, I'm not from GT. I'm from Victoria. Anyway, after that, the same day I went home, and my daughter said to me, guess what? I was selected for an intelligent, gifted class. And she said in the class, there were 8 of them, and from the 8, there were 3 guys, 5 guys. She said, and 2 of them look like you, they talk like you, but they're straight. And I said, 1, they're Estonian, and 2, they're Guyanese. She said, but my mother is Guyanese, and she don't talk like you. I said, well, so, oh, because he's the countryman. So, and then I was invited to a food festival in New York, and there was a symposium on Guyanese folk, theater and Guyanese folk. So at the symposium, all the participants had to introduce themselves. And they were introducing themselves in all standard English. And I said, these are Guyanese folk here. Why was he introduce ourselves by English and I and this and that? So I thought about writing and I started right there and then went to and I said, this is my profile. And I started going like this. Me own countryman, a Victorian born and grew. Me own countryman. I don't want all you. Not because I hear my talking when came on book. And sometimes I just read the big book. Me own countryman, I better take one second. The land of Vulcana, the sin of our people. We drink black water, the young one. They say, the place our past. Kakailu and John Nia Piper, and the local guest for us, some fish and background. We will get a train and gate and walk up in this time, and when we will let some Mr. Antonio child. When Bobby Chamber come up with them, go back and street down this from the town car. They know the German go tell you what they've done, and when cartoon shit coming in the box. When some political are down, and they just say, fish the country. Me and friend of the wrong, we don't put me on the mouth. And at night, when we go in the house, they always talk about. When we go outside late at night, they always talk. Zombie, if you didn't, you better come out. We do all these things and many, many more. Because these are the doings that do people and then they're done before. So not judging by the things they say or the things they do. Me, our countryman, when we were children. During the past, the common entrance and the GCE, and we went to high school in the big city, they wanted to stay no more. And my father and my daddy, my brother and my sister, my brother and my body and my sister and my sister. Me, I got one auntie. And that woman is here, me, she go and take me. And they were all come from the country just like me, from a place called Victoria, the fourth village, Atlanta, West Street. Themselves, you can take me out of the country, but not the country out of me. So if I come to the band, then I come to the beat. So you do all I be, whoever I want to be. That is the business the brother and sister of me, our countryman, we come from Victoria.
Ras Leon Saul. Charlie?
I'm sure you all want to introduce Ras Leon Saul. I don't think I could pick out the good things I remember about him. Ras Leon Saul is one of the best actors I encountered when I was a young person in the theater way back when Father Dar, Ras Leon reminded me, the Jesuit priest used to tell us when we couldn't speak Shakespeare properly, he used to tell us we had lazy tongues because he had no respect for the language we just heard his tongue say. Leon, I don't know if you remember that, but Leon was also, he eventually became one of the best playwrights of Ghana. And I think one of the worst attributes of Leon is that he has seemingly given up the ghost, because I think he was born to write and act. And since he is so caught me on the spot, I don't know anything else about him. He's a fantastic drummer as well, but he could be a good boards man anyway. Leon, welcome.
Rastafari. Hi guys. Hello everybody. I'm in Raw. So what I'm going to be doing tonight is give a little drumming, a little something for me, because the ancestral spirit, you know the way? And then I'm going to give you a reasoning on Rastafari. Because a lot of people don't even know who's I am. You know? So we're going to deal with it. See a lot of report. Yeah, you know, in times like these, when the going gets rough, the dread gets tough, you know. And even though it looks as if we're not many in numbers physically, trust me, the spirit of our ancestors, all the spirits are here tonight. You see how many picture? So touch somebody next to you and say, hey, look, man. Come on, you have to tight up and come there. You have to tight up. By ourselves. And for too long being here, we could do it without the ancestors and Almighty God. Yeah, it's so Rastaman's open up your runnings, you know. A little bingy chant, a little bingy drumming. Because, you see, they say the weapon. If you're going into war and you got a strap like this, you can't make it. Remember Joshua and Jericho, 7 times 7 round Jericho, with the drums and a chant, and the walls of Babylon, the walls of Jericho just come tumbling down. One shot. This is the African man weapon. And for too long, we have been divorced from this strap. Because remember back in slavery, they never said, allow I to play I drums, you know. You see? And Obi is not a bad thing. Obone, straight out of Nigeria, Yoruba roots. Obedience to God. So I and the Obi man get demonized, get vilified. I'm an Obi man, but I walk clean Obi, or spiritual Obi. I don't walk with blood and think I walk with direct connection with the Almighty. Joe! Amen. Rap. And I have forgotten our roots, and that's why we're getting defeated. Everybody else using their culture, and I getting on a vulture. Of the Rastafari movement in Guyana. And this is part 3. We were running a series in the Chronicle newspapers, part 1, part 2, part 3, and then they said, no more part 3, our son, you're part 3 more Red Sea. So they stopped printing these things in the Chronicle newspaper. But here we are to continue our tradition, because Who's Rastafari? Rastafari is Almighty God. You see, Almighty God got many different names. And we all call him by different names, but there's only one God, brother and sister. No matter how you did it. And Rastaman said, Jah Rastafari on the rock. Why? Revelation 5:5 and Revelation 19:60 points to the fact that his imperial majesty indeed, King of kings, Lord of lords, the conquering Lion of Judah, elect of God himself, earth's rightful ruler. Now, the first Rastafarians in Guyana were Garvians. Hear that? Would have also probably been like Jordanites, you know, different white clothes and things that were around. That was like original Rastaman thing, you know. But the question is, before 1892, when Selassie Rastafari McConnell was born, July 23rd, 1892, what were we called, or what were people like us were called before him came into existence and this name Rastafari? Back in that time, we were holy men. Nature men, man of God, men with direct connection with nature and with the Almighty. That was who we were before 1892 when Selassie was born. But after he manifests as the returned Messiah, as Christ in his kingly character, as Almighty God of Lord, as the Ancient of Days, Amen Ra, things started to heat up differently, hot fire, because they didn't expect the Christ man to return. Remember, we still waited for Jesus, you know, 2,000 years later, he's still coming, and he's going to land here. On the 2nd of November 1930, Rastafari McConnell, King Selassie was coronated as emperor. And prophecy was fulfilled. Yeah, 1930, the 2nd of November, prophecies were fulfilled. That's why Rastafari lived. Now, writer Rupert Lewis has examined political aspects of the origins of the Rastafari movement at a time when the Garvey movement was in decline in the 1930s. It was around that time that Marcus Garvey visited Guyana and first brought the message of Rastafari closer to home. About 7 UNIA branches were established right here in Guyana. We had to leave it to run. They moved, I think, in Charles Street, Marcus Garvey and the headquarters over. Lewis's main intention was to underscore ways in which Garveyism has affected the evolution of Rastafari and to identify the many similarities and differences that existed between the two anti-colonial ideologies. Many interpretations of the origins of Rastafari have focused on two events during this period. The coronation of Rastafari as Emperor of Ethiopia in 1930 and Marcus Messiah Garvey's writings on the significance of this coronation for people of African descent. But the actual manifestation of dreadlock Rastafarians in Guyana practicing the aesthetic natural way of life and eschewing the temptations and pitfalls of Babylon's system did not happen until the mid-1960s when Guyanese sailors who traveled to Jamaica, just my brother like Orlando Butcher, also known as Ras Leon Saul. Yeah, he's already back second up in 1980 October. Yeah, I used to work with Protestant newspapers there as a senior reporter. And I was asked with some culture, you know, Pan-African thing, them all organized. Camo, Lando, Loki. Them all said the company that are the correct to come with some culture. Because Camo had a little some culture gathering in South and shopping plaza. And them all come to, I gave them a nice write-up. And them all said, hey, you see the house, come in and get on the ground there, you know? Remember? Walter, I said, ground there is ground there with my brethren. So I'm going to get to, and he's on Lando back second one to shoot and get dread. Now, before that, I started burning marijuana. Since 1977, I catch it. Me, Craig David, Danny, we for the Siwa, by the London, so we catch a thing. And we change up the whole Siwa waterfront. We bring in sand from Kimmery and from Livingston's like Kimmery, and we build the whole seawall like that, you know? They really high state to us, open up the meditation and vision. So, Lando and Cameron make a not up. And I got to give them enough respect to them. Because the reasons that I put I go to Canada and spend 25 years in Canada and come back as Rasta and not no change and except I get no talk because the my reasons was that rough that I could go and represent Rastafari internationally as a GT Rastaman and stand for. Because the GT Rastafari philosophy is different to even the Jamaicans. First of all, easy title. No fight all. Not even fish so easy. Not even eggs. Anyway, I was diverted here. But yeah,
we're coming back to Ras Williams was one of the man, and there was another man, a pioneering agriculturist named Ras Samuel. He used to go to Queen's College. Who introduced the use of ITOL? Ras Monkey, he recently died. Ras Akutoli acknowledged return to this country to post reflections on the horrible samples of the new way of life. That is the only man who brings the vibe to I-9. Early Rastas also included British just then the other day, you know. Yeah. Cats, Spanner, Big Daddy, Mr. Clean, Kedosai, Stoneface, oh God, Stoneface to make a run on the road. Big youth from Ras Leon, Big G, Naturalisha, and Ras Kanai. These are them man, this is the pioneering Rasta man, and we can't forget them. Some individuals see Rastafari as a political movement. I see something. And here's why I just set up in 2015, Healing the Nation Theocracy Party. Yeah, Mr. Rasta don't get involved in politics. Ooh. Selassie I was emperor. And that's the highest political position you can hold. So I don't know what to come with this thing. Then we can't do with Babylon system and say, we don't know politics. I said we have to do with politics because that's the only way they will recognize and understand who you are. And from them they say, burn Babylon. Oh, that's a political statement of the highest order. You know? So when Rastaman says don't need politics, what do you know? You know what you really represent. You have to represent something apart from love, Pan-Africanism, but we stand for equal rights and justice for all. Truth. You know, positive moralities. Well, like what's happening now in our society, our morality that takes the principles that go through the window. We are raping little children now in this country, and Rastafari don't stand for that. We say, fire! And all rapist predators and people who transgress and violate I children like that. There's no Rasta stand for no defending those who can't defend themselves. And so we say, we don't like what certain things are going in this country, there's going to be a change soon. God don't wear pajamas. Some individuals see Rastafari as a political movement, a sentiment that is offensive to religious-minded Rasta people. Now, the Rastafari movement did, however, gain power and popularity through many social and political aspirations of key Rastafari individuals. Publicist and organizer Marcus Garvey, who is regarded as a prophet by many members of the Rastafari faith, used his spiritual, economic, cultural, and political Pan-African vision through the Negro World newspaper to inspire a new worldview within the group. Marcus Garvey's visit to Guyana in October 1937 was a defining moment in the establishment of Rasta prophecy in Guyana. He had declared years earlier, look to Africa, where a black king will be crowned. That will be the time of African redemption. Those who words. Look to Africa, where a black king will be crowned. That is the time of African redemption. Prophet and King of Reggae, Bob Marley, who sang, Jah lives, children, he lives, Jah lives. You know, Bob wake me up, you know, in 1977. I did. National service at tomorrow, and I got a good transistor or really call it, I had a cassette. I know, and then he jumped for 3 months listening to Bob, talking to me about uprising, catch a fire. And when I came out to the jungle, I was fully on fire. Bob Marley, he's my mentor, my big brother, and I gave him all thanks and Isaac for waking up and really since back then. Yeah, Bob there, now, as I said, the prophet and king of reggae, Bob Marley sang Jadis, a Pan-Africanist revolutionary, Guyanese scholar and renowned historian Dr. Walter Rodney, also had a seminal impact on the awareness and acceptance of Rastafari philosophy, not only in Africa, Guyana, and Jamaica, but the rest of the world through one of his publications, Grumblings with My Brethren. Walter Rodney was a Rasta man, his way he put on the blocks. And I feel if you only put on the blocks, you know, then you know, like you see Koyana on them, you know? GIHR in 1916, the 10th persona non grata in Jamaica. Only if GIHR had not done that, the world might have been different, you know? Yeah. So here we are. In 1968, Jamaica's Prime Minister GIHR banned Walter Rodney from entering Jamaica, and Brother Walter's spiritual, conscious, Afrocentric advocacy brought more focus on Rastafari here in Guyana. When about to run the Working People's Alliance and Folks Forum got into conflict, several Rasta personalities, including Colin Carter, also known as Rasta Senior, were involved in the struggle as members of the WPA, Working People's Alliance. This caused some members of the budding Rasta community to be viewed with suspicion by the then PNC government and then due persecutions from the police. We still get persecuted by the police. Along with the reggae explosion in the 1970s, Rastafari's acceptance in Guyana also began after Bob Marley's music became more popular, especially his album, Natty Dread, and the song Jalid, after the mystical disappearance of Emperor Haile Selassie from the throne. They said, Jah dead, Jah no dead. I don't praise a living God, a dead God. If I praise a dead God as a dead man, I praise a living God, Abakudus, and Bishop to self. So last year I was spirited away by old retailers out of custody and God up in the mountains with their monks. He's still living, you know. God will go die. And his name is Abakudus. Check it out. So, after the mystical disappearance of the Emperor Haile Selassie from the throne, January, in the mid-70s, this sparked the fire that lit the consciousness of Rastafari in the hearts of many young Guyanese. The visit to these shores, like toward World, around 1977, the newly constructed National Sports Hall along Stretch Avenue helped cement the Rasta message to aspiring Guyanese dreadlocks. Before that, there was a visit to Guyana by Count Ozzy and the Royal Sons of Lagos to Carifesta in 1972, along with cultural troops from the Caribbean, especially Jamaica, that brought the message home. Indeed, without the music of Dennis Brown, Peter Tosh, Bonnie Wailer, Born in Spirit Culture, Toots and the Maytals, Jacob Killamiller, and other such roots rock reggae has, they help to spread the message of Rastafari in Guyana. The message of the music is the carrier of that message. So, roots rock reggae really help Rastafari message to be disseminated worldwide. And then they bring in dancehall for undermining agitation. You don't know somebody fight this one. Oh, this dancehall thing, you know. This death and destruction in dancehall. Sting and dirty runnings. So no, they were also pioneering Brethren like Guyanese drummer and flautist country, also known as Naya, Big Dread, Paddock, Big Bill, Basil on 110th Street, Gordon Belton, like the School, Aiton Archie, well Archie just ran through there, Pastor, Zion, Pryor, Sherry, Cham, the dreaded version of the Alpha Crew from Lonely Street, Queenstown, including Kubiai, an early proponent of the use of raw food. Peter Pop already, who knows the open water shop, but I was welcome. These are all pioneering Rasta brethren who go through no tribulation, who locks and get cut off and cut grass, get beat up. Oh, it wasn't easy being Rastafari in Guyana. And just memories of Coral Garden in Jamaica in the early 60s, when the persecuted and killed Rastafari. It don't be easy for I and I, you know. I don't know why they don't love Rasta. And the funny thing is, I will tell you a little secret. It's African people, young black people whose hate Rasta knows. Them other sisters accept I and I. They fall to I and I. Because Rasta got linkages with Hindu mythology and these guys are thinking, no. Shiva, them are born Rasta, man, differently, you know. Yeah. Them are doing in their church, bring in the word, you know, bang, the thing, you know. So we can't divorce yourself from the Indian brethren. It's oneness. See, I show you, Kali Horde, them all bring it. And then bring other ice clothes. The way of life, the aesthetic way of life. So we have a lot to big up them Indian brethren for, because they want to love them or something. Anyway. But there was also the original loving king, also with Victoria like street art, with Tony craftsmen, like Malik Brian Van Loswell, Ras Marcos, Naya Keith, King David, Judas Star, Bob Tony, Robert and Pat, who helped establish the presence of dreadlock Rastamen long before even Guyana's father of the nation, LFS Borno. You know Rastaman too, though. He used to take Borno picture and use Marco put on the dreadlocks back then. Because Borno was a Garveyite. Borno helped I&I rising in Guyana too as Rastafari. We facilitated I&I, but we let him down. Yeah, long before Borno traveled to Ethiopia in the to feed, clothe, and house FCH program. This also caused President Boredom to become sympathetic to the people's movement of Rastafari. The revolutionary minded leader granted the Rastafari community large tracts of land at North Fork in the hinterland. And then man was that, burning up one another, go fight for land, fight for material things, they kill up one another. And they just left a bad impression of Rastafari working together. And we lost North Fork. North Fork had enough gold and diamond and gold agriculture land. And if you hold gold and heights, Rastafari will be running this country right now. God, Boredom did not say, killing oil is a waste. Another Rasta will take my place. You can't kill a people's movement, you hear that? You can't kill a people's movement. Rasta is not about personality, individuality, philosophy. And right to the philosophy of Rastafari runs the whole world. Look at the colors. Look at all those who eat tonight. Look at all those smoking pearl. Look at all those on the job. Look at all those who put even locks in it, they reason it in. They even burn it to walk. The philosophy of Rastafari is one love. It's permeating the atmosphere, but we get in a fight with the devil. But Rasta philosophy will stand firm in Guyana and all over the Caribbean and all over the world. Trust me on this. Rasta is the future. Anyway, in 1978, after representation was made by the Rastafari community following the beatings and locking up of hundreds of Rastafaris at the National Park, who attended a musical showcase commemorating the birth anniversary of the Field Marshal Emperor Haile Selassie Sunday, July 24th. After that, Boredom even provided transportation of rations to the North Fork Agricultural Project. See, got to go through the fire, but there were opportunities for us to rise higher, and we didn't really grasp them. President Boredom even provided transportation here, but a subsequent attempt at large-scale farming and setting up of a community ended in tragic failure with the manifestation of much greed. There's a black people course, or was anybody course that? Much greed, dissension, divisiveness, and death among the brethren. Sounds like today, brethren. Among those who were part of that failed venture were Big Beard, British, Stoneman, and Lepke, among many others. But the Black Heart Guy's head of state, we refer to Boredom as a Black Heart. The Black Heart Guy's head of state did not despair and granted land in Georgia, in South Georgia, to the Rastafari community. Thus, Rasville was created in South Grenville, with the aptly named Rocks and Boredom Gardens. So we had a lot of opportunities to really establish ourselves. The Ras Leon Community Building Initiative was spearheaded by Ras Lepke, with Ras Polo and Ras Chrisman being prominently involved, along with others, Dread and Barlet alike. You hear that? Dread and Barlet alike. God, there comes a point where you might have knocks on your head, but you dread in your heart. And right in the Gamo, none knocks, Rastam, than blacks, Rastam. This is like a style, you know, they're not dread on technically KFC right now. Yeah, but to each his own, man. It's not what goes into you, what comes out. And once the love comes out, no matter what man eat it, they sip up. Once you show the love, then you feel the sick enough, you know. So, the Ras Leon Community Building Initiative, as I said, was spearheaded by some pioneering brethren, I think. We could go on and on and on and on and talk about Rastafari, this new phenomenon in his life. But the bottom line is this: who's Rastafari? Rastafari is me, you. Once you got love in your heart, and you acknowledge Almighty God, and you love nature to the max, the idea is Rastafari. The word is named Rastafari. It's an energy, it's a spirit that moves you. So, look around and tell somebody one love. Tell somebody one love or break up the fight. Tell a man what, hey, one love. So that's my delivery for today. I'm going to go on and on. Next time, we're going to call you around a fire, a lava fire, blaze some light up, you get enough weed. Who spoke for a marijuana in here? Don't be ashamed to put your hands up. There's nothing wrong with it. One love. I love being here. And don't ask me why I got this fire. We are going to come bring this fire because it's time we rise. Jah!
Thank you, Ras Leon. And I'm pretty sure sure that most people thought that he had only just begun, but actually he was at his end. Now, I'd like to invite Mr. Easton to give directions on tour to the Boston Friendship Museum. So, Mr. Easton.
Good evening. Yes, good evening. Conference attendees, organizers, and everyone else. Tonight is not actually my time. I'm only here, one, to introduce myself to you, and two, to tell you about the tour that the Boston Friendship Museum, Archives and Cultural Center is sponsoring on Sunday. I will be doing an official presentation to you concerning my museum journey and some other aspect of the program. So I'll just be to the point. The tour for the Boston Friendship Museum and Cultural Center is on Sunday, June the 25th. There's a flyer that was sent out by email to everyone, and we're asking if you can enroll by tomorrow afternoon or evening, right? Because it's a tour of which the cost is $6,000, includes transportation, bus picking you up outside the National Museum at around 12:30, and El Dorado Inn, of which there's some persons I was told are there, passing the 1823 monument, and from there, and persons who will want to take pictures can take pictures. You will be afforded the opportunity of coming out and take pictures. From there, you will then go to the museum. You'll get a tour of the museum. From there, after that, you have lunch, and then you have a tour of the village, and return back to Georgetown. And in returning to Georgetown, you'll be passing the 1763 monument. And again, we have this flyer on the internet. And before I say thank you for this opportunity of speaking about the museum, I must acknowledge my fellow museum associates. We have the secretary of the museum here, Ms. Karen Day, and the general clerk of the museum, Ms. Viola Henry. But also we have a friend of the museum, which I must acknowledge because he was there from the inception of the museum and even before the creation of the museum, Mr. D.R. Abrams, right? So I must acknowledge him also. So everything else you'll see at the tour, from the creation of the Young Visionaries right down to the museum. If there are any questions, I'm open to answer. If not, I'll pass you over to the
Good evening, all brothers and sisters. I'm not really considering this station. We may talk a lot, but not really so many questions at one time. the recent presentation by Pierre Mumbo, I said, oh my God, this world is small. Because I've been saying all along that in Guyana, and I'm looking at our situation now in history, that we should be feeling privileged to be in Guyana at this point. We need to look back at the history of Guyana and look at this pivotal time now that we're in with all its good things and its bad things, you know. And what Pierre Mumbo said, he was looking back at history, our global history, created the fact that the people of war, the institutions that were formed to prevent war, as the United Nations and all these various other institutions in other parts of the world, and making the point that the young persons, what's happening, that all the people controlled globally now are now octogenarians. I'm about to be numbered in that group. And I was saying that in the end, where are our young people to take over? And I hope that we recognize that we got to set a platform to somehow we got to sensitize them and bring them in so they can take over from us. We got to sort of give them our shoulders to stand on. You got to find some way to motivate them, or else, you know, I don't know what's going to happen. I agonize about these things, you know, regularly. So, I don't want to digress too much because there's so many things today. I mean, I discuss with some of my comrades here, like Charlene, and so on a regular basis on these same issues. Now, to refer to Brother Leon, in connection with introducing Brother Brother Cummings, who I've known for more than 40 years. That's how old we are. And he's speaking of our last brother Forbes, you know, and cooperativism. Dereck is going to discuss cooperativism. You know, all those things are very important were the foundations of that kind of economic movement that really has taken hold of us in Guyana. And it was supposed to be the driving force of our development. And sad to say, there are not many examples of successful ones. I am still a member of one that is trying to get off the ground called it's the Rosinante is a field one, but there's one more, it's got to do with land in the Bartica area. They're currently poor. And I would hope that my good brother Dereck will be able to educate us and inspire us so we can go and inspire others that cooperativism is something that we should embrace. And right now, I am always, my children tell me I'm trying to do too many things. I am trying to see if we can get a number of young, I am not, I'm not only one, young mostly African men together to try to establish an infrastructural group. A group that will own infrastructural equipment, have a place where it is stored and have to look operating so we can participate in the development of the land. But there's no one person to do it. We have to have a collaboration or we have to cooperate in some way. So I know that my brother is capable of educating us and telling us about how the architecture works of this movement. So I have no hesitation to introduce to you Brother Dereck Cummings.
Ghana Institute of Historical Research, and distinguished persons in the midst. I'm honored to be here to share some thoughts on cooperatives in the Cooperative Republic. I will not, I'll go straight to the presentation. On August 29th, 1969, Honorable Minister Shirley Murphy in piloting a motion to declare Guyana a cooperative republic on February 23rd, 1970, that's the date on which the republic came into being, said, and I quote, "One essence of the cooperative is that it is completely free from political or racial sectionalism. It is a unifying force that cuts across these kinds of divisions and joins together the working people of this country." And she continues, "The cooperative cuts across divisions and stands up firmly on Guyanese soil, giving impetus for the development trust for which we are involved." I think today, some 52 years later, an application of the foregoing quote is timely and relevant. In 1970, Guyana was declared a cooperative republic on the premise that the cooperative sector would be the dominant sector in the economy over the private and state sectors. Cooperatives were promoted as instruments for building socialism. They were seen as a vehicle by which the country's resources would be developed and for making the small man the real man, as well as for achieving the universal objective of socialism. As such, they benefited from government support. Cooperativism, which was a word coined by then leader of the country, Thomas Borden, is a practice inherited all ethnic groups as a philosophy and was introduced alongside registered cooperatives. This concept also catered to quasi-state-owned institutions established in commerce, financial services, education, housing, insurance, cattle rearing, and others. The philosophy included informal cooperative endeavors, that is cooperativism, which as self-help, such as self-help, community development, and other areas of human association for a common good, aimed at contributing towards the evolution of the cooperative ethos. The Cooperative Societies Ordinance, which brought in a formal cooperative movement, Chapter 3 to it, was enacted in 1948 and was given full efficacy only during the 1970s and the 1980s. As a result of the declaration, formal cooperatives were introduced, promoted, or revitalized in various spheres of economic activity. That is the declaration of Sophia and other national pronouncements. They were in agriculture, land produced, they were in agriculture. You had a land type and a producer type, which we born the details. Just to say that the producer type was communally owned, the land type was when you owned individual plus within the society. Credit unions, school thrift, machinery, fishermen, construction, consumer, etc. Thus, there was a rapid expansion in the numbers of cooperatives. In 1970, for instance, there were 976 registered cooperatives, with a total membership of 76,436. And there was trade capital, deposit savings. I'm not going to go into all the numbers now because I realize it's been a hard time for a very long time. But the document will be made available. By 1974, the number of registered cooperatives moved from 976 to 1,307. And clearly it can be seen that over a 4-year period, cooperatives expanded in every aspect, but most importantly, the value of share capital per member increased by 63%. Further, the 1970s saw young people of Guyana becoming more involved in the cooperative movement through school thrift cooperatives. At the end of 1981, out of a total of 515 primary and secondary schools, 370 of them had such societies with a total membership of 59,455 and savings of 680,676, which is a lot of money at that time. In 1970, economic activities of fishermen cooperatives expanded to include deportation of fish gear and other requirements, provision of bar facilities, credit marketing, repair facilities, production of ice, and sale of gasoline. Agricultural production cooperatives expanded in the areas of poultry, cattle rearing, rice, crop provision, and honey production. Many agricultural schemes were designed to become cooperative agricultural communities and cooperative land societies. At the end of 1983, there were 250 cooperative societies engaged in production of crops, other than sugarcane. Those particular societies faced two problems. One, lack of proper drainage and irrigation facilities, because they had introduced a hybrid type of rice at that time. Before you could have thrown the D91 and leave it, it could have operated outgrown under rough conditions, but when you introduced the hybrid type, you had to have water drainage and irrigation. And the second problem was the non-availability of machinery and other inputs. Cane farming cooperatives, a passion of Dr. Chelly Jordan, accounted of more than 50% of all Western cane farmers' output. The consumer movement had over 41 societies with 12,000 members and combined sales of over 8 million per annum. The development of housing was facilitated through housing cooperatives that bought and developed land for housing purposes. These societies also permitted persons to accumulate the deposits for self-help housing. In addition to cooperative societies, an elaborate structure of state-supported institutions with the word cooperative included in the name was developed to make the cooperative philosophy a reality. The national, sponsored, and promoted enterprises. These include Guyana Agricultural Cooperative Development Bank, Guyana Cooperative Mortgage Finance Bank, Guyana Cooperative Insurance Service, Guyana National Cooperative Bank, Guyana Wholesale Cooperative Society, Kuru Cooperative College. But as you all know, citizens of cooperatives declined. So I just suggest some reasons now why cooperatives declined. In its heyday, the cooperative movement owned and controlled vast amounts of resources, real estate, that's land, leased and owned, and liquid cash. In particular, agriculture, fishing, and multi-purpose cooperatives own real estate and land holdings. Credit unions also own significant real estate and cash. There are also deposits in cooperative-owned finances in the Guyana National Cooperative Bank unto this day, which became the successor, the Republic Bank. They moved to NBIC and then Republic Bank. And those deposits, over $200 million, owned by cooperatives, not functioning, they're still there in the Republic Bank, as well as in Handinan and other institutions. While on the surface it appeared that the cooperative movement was making tremendous strides, there were underlying problems. The cooperative movement covered a wide array of endeavors, but such as production, provision of services, including consumer goods, and was also a means of saving and borrowing. Initially, the movement was considered a third sector along the government and private sector. As a matter of fact, one scholar at that time, Professor Dance, said that the public sector was like the body of the head of the elephant and the body of an ant, because the public sector, this wasn't corporations per se, but this was all the corporations and so on. We commanded along with government ministries commanding almost 8% of the economic activity. At the end of the 1980s, the cooperative sector was not assigned any significant role in the national economy. This led to an almost abandonment of state focus on the cooperative sector. This abandonment led to the movement marking time, and resulted in a contraction of its economic and social prominence throughout the country. The government had an overwhelming influence on the development of cooperatives, both practically and functionally. The fast pace of ramping up the movement failed to take into consideration, among other things, the time needed for the appropriate attitudinal metamorphosis to take place for cooperatives to embrace and buy into the philosophy. Because they were all people doing individual farms and individual businesses and artisans and so on. They weren't accustomed to this kind of come together. Even though in family units, people came together. So there wasn't enough time. They want to do something, get together, form a co-op. The money is still given to you, the corporate registered, get it done, and move on. There wasn't time to develop that kind of appreciation and knowledge. Large amounts of funds were provided by the government for cooperative development. This led to inadequate capital formation. Because the government was providing funds, people weren't putting their own capital to do it. And of course, this created a dependency syndrome and ran counter to the spirit of cooperatives. Cooperatives faced major management problems since there was a dearth of good managers. This led to a decline in the number of the functioning cooperatives. In light of management challenges, mismanagement of revenue owned by cooperatives also contributed to decline, because as you know, there was a lot of irregularities, the secretary controlled all the money, and so on. And this then led to a decline in production and output, and eventually in the number of functioning cooperatives. Annual subsidies were provided by the government to the Ghana National Cooperative Union, and this discouraged members because the Ghana National Cooperative Union is made up of membership of what we call secondary societies. That's societies of like type come together, or regional cooperatives. But because of the government's subvention, it wasn't encouraged by the members of the national union, those are the secondary societies, to contribute, and this also declined. The establishment of rice action committees in villages had an adverse effect on the operation of the agricultural treatment credit cooperatives, because the agricultural treatment credit cooperatives got money from what was then the Ghana Cooperative Credit Society, which got money from government, and that money used to lend the farmers at crop time, and then farmers would reap their crop, they would pay back. But because government established rice action committee, which actually was controlled by political forces in the various regions, that undermined the agricultural treatment credit societies. And of course, the management of the Ghana National Credit Union was under the control of the Ministry of Cooperatives during the period 1971 to 1982. And I see in our midst here a former Minister of Cooperatives, Mr. Keith Scott. Political decisions, though well intended, weighed heavily against effective operation of societies. In many cases, societies were hurriedly registered before a proper viability study was done. You want to do something, come together, form a cooperative. Corresponding nature should be promoted on the basis of a felt or reduced need by members. Many persons were drawn into these societies because it was the state's wish for this type of economic activity as a basis of developing the small man. Now, this is what I think some of the reasons that the conflict declined. Permit me to read 3 quotes by national leaders which will demonstrate this decline. The first quote is by the Honorable C.B. Jagan, who was then Minister of Trade and Industry at the opening of the annual celebrations of International Cooperative Day. And I quote, "My government is dedicated to this ideal of cooperation and to the attainment of what cooperative effort can bring. The economic or social welfare of the people of this country The welfare of the masses, that is the objective of our policies, and we challenge anyone to dispute successfully our belief that a greater good will accrue to the greatest number by cooperative organizations, well-funded and efficiently and honestly run. But that was up to check chapter by the US Minister, and this is in 1961. The second quote I want to make, because we come long in time, and this is a history forum, is by President Elvis Bonham from the Declaration of Survival in December 1974, and I quote, "We however named the Cooperative Republic to highlight the fact that a cooperative will be the principal institution for giving the masses the control of our economy, to emphasize the fact that we aim at making the cooperative sector the dominant sector, and that the cooperative is and will be the mechanism for making the small man a real man." End of quote. And the last quote I want to read is current, and this is by Dr. Ivor Thom, part of his presidential inauguration address. And I'm sorry that I dropped the date, but he said, and that was again, I think, somewhere in August, around August of 2020. I can send the date back to Sister Hazel. And it's a quote, "My government intends to fulfill the pledges outlined in the manifesto in which we contest the March 2nd general elections. Central to fulfill those pledges will be the collaborative and consolidative relationship with the private sector, labor, and many other stakeholders in our society. My government will work in partnership with all stakeholders," and that was from Dr. Ali's inaugural address. Of interest to note is by the time we reached Dr. Ali's leadership of the country, nothing was said about cooperatives. Nothing was mentioned about cooperatives because cooperatives have become so insignificant. And this really started with the introduction of the Economic Recovery Program. As you know, we had a crisis, and then President Ogden had the Economic Recovery Program, and then we had the private sector being named the engine of growth. And I think things were so bad in the country, even 1 year under President Hoyt, there was even money for a Ministry of Housing, so that the program was stalled. A few recommendations. An immediate cooperative resuscitation plan is the most desirable need to galvanize human capital as we ramp up our oil and gas industry. A 2024-2028 cooperative development plan embraces a new policy trust for cooperatives as member-controlled organizations using a business approach in their operation and management is highly recommended. Thus, cooperatives must be business-oriented and seen in the same importance as the private sector enterprises operating without support from the state, or without dependency on support of the state. Autonomy should be bestowed on cooperatives, membership-driven, and self-sufficiency should be pillars of the cooperative movement in Ghana, in keeping with international best practices. However, a transition period is necessary for the attainment of an autonomous and self-sufficient movement. In addition, the plan must provide clear solutions with regard to constraints, access to land, access to credit, and cooperative support services, which need to be reorganized, financed, and monitored. Some issues that must be addressed should include the role of the state, identification of growth sectors for cooperative endeavors, environmental consideration, relationship with local bodies, local government bodies, and non-governmental organizations, role of cooperative education, special role of credit unions, integration of women into the movement, integration of youth in the movement, relationship with regional and international organizations, and integration of indigenous peoples in the movement, among others. We should identify and prioritize growth areas for cooperative development. And then I have some key actions that will influence the implementation, but I'm not going to go into that now. I just wish to say that cooperatives are still relevant, and I will say a bit of that in conclusion, which I will soon reach. We have the International Cooperative Alliance, the ICA, which is also very relevant and is a major player in the scheme of uplifting persons and for economic support and growth and social growth of people. I want to say that given the broad range of actions that will be required to position the cooperative movement as a main player in job creation and stimulating growth, economic growth, there is need for some immediate actions as others with a longer gestation period are being planned and pursued. Immediate actions are intended to mobilize critical requirements for productive ventures. Land and partnership finance among are such actions that must be addressed, or aspirations. In the cooperative ethos, the membership represents a significant labor component, so you're not going to join the cooperative and pay people to do your work, because the cooperative has a principle of members getting back returns from the cooperative based on their contribution to what is being, to the activity, the economic activity. As I said before, there exist hundreds of millions of dollars lying idle as deposits and investments in financial institutions today. For instance, upon the acquisition of the Ghana National Cooperative Bank by Republic Bank, funds belonging to corporate societies were passed over to the Republic Bank as dormant accounts. It is estimated similar financing are also available at Hardinand Trust, formerly GIHR Trust, as well as other businesses. A resource management department within the cooperative department should actively identify and put systems in place to retrieve such funds. Funds acquired should be made available for loans and grant funding to community development and cooperative ventures. In conclusion, cooperative societies exist in many countries of the world. They are varied types and include workers' cooperatives, producer cooperatives, consumer cooperatives, financial cooperatives, and market cooperatives, among others. The principles developed by the Rochdale pioneers in 1844 have been used as a basis for identifying cooperative organizations and models around the world. And I just want to say that the Rochdale pioneers were in 1844, the Victoria movement was in 1839. And if you want to look at the rules, which my friend Tommy Payne was kind enough to let me see today, remind me of them, you will see how superior those rules were by the ex-slaves in organizing the villages. But we look at Rochdale as the pioneers. It must be noted that not all cooperative societies have the word cooperative as part of the identity. In most cases, for example, in the USA, self-identification and application of principles are used to identify identities as cooperative. The 300 largest cooperative societies operate primarily in 5 sectors of the world. These sectors are financial services, where 45% of the cooperatives operate, in insurance and banking services industry. Another 27% of the cooperatives play significant roles in agriculture and 20% in businesses in the distributive sector. About 5% of the largest cooperatives are in the utilities sector, where the health sector and others make up of the remaining 2%. These cooperatives had sales of about $2.53 trillion in 2012. If the sales were regarded as final expenditure figures, the revenues would be close to 5% of the output of the world. The USA and the EU are the 2 largest economies in the world. Well, with China now coming close behind, or among them. They account for nearly half of the world's gross domestic product. There are capitalist countries that believe in the free market, yet both of them rely heavily on cooperatives, particularly in the agriculture sector. I know Mr. Scott Vendors may like to refer to SWIFT. Coal in banking has been a cooperative, those of us who deal in foreign exchange. that too well. Both the USA and the EU have a history of providing strong support to farmers. In this way, cooperatives are able to guarantee food quality and safety. I close by coming back to the motion to declare Guyana Cooperative Republic as I started. That motion on August 29, 1969 resulted in 46 members voted for and 2 against. So it was a largely bipartisan electoral vote. Those voting in the affirmative included Mr. Bonner and Dr. Jacob. The cooperative was a mechanism and bipartisan support 53 years ago. Societies flourished across Guyana, including Port Moreland and several Cape farming communities, American missions, and villages of African descendants. The cooperative ethos was a unified force then and must be adopted to do so now. This desire is even more appropriate as Guyana's president has declared an aspiration to build one Guyana. Guyana is the only cooperative republic in the world. The cooperative was chosen as the main vehicle for economic development when our nation achieved republican status, and we still need the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. I thank you.
Mr. Cummings, I have the honor of presenting Mr. Token to you. On behalf of the organizing committee of the conference, and I don't see Dr. Nikki here, but indeed we are thankful that you attended the opening ceremony, and I'm glad that you, sir, Mr. Dereck Cummings, kept your word. Dereck Cummings is a friend of the Guyana Institute of Historical Research. And so as we close this evening session, please remember that you're invited to purchase Mr. Ivor Thom's book, to intermingle with those whom you have not seen. And I wish to thank Ras Leon Saul for his performance, as well as Mr. Ivor Thom. Ivor Thom, as you know, is the sculptor of 1823 Dereck Cummings monument, and was a very close friend of the sculptor of the 1763 monument as well. So as you travel to Boston Friendship, and you return from Boston Friendship, I see Richard shaking his head there. So you already have one registering here. As you travel, you will remember these men. Again, thank you. The conference continues tomorrow. And I want to thank Mr. George and his family for coming. As I said, most of the work that is done at the conference is voluntary, and I want to thank all of you. For those of you who want to be able to meet and chat with the
featured speaker of tomorrow as well. You can see Dr. Mark Curtin. For those of you who wish to thank Mr. Cummings personally for keeping his word, you can do so personally. Have a good evening. See you tomorrow.